The tunnel opens at a large oak door. Throm wastes no time in testing the handle and is somewhat surprised to find the door unlocked. He pushes it open and walks into a torch-lit chamber. Sitting alone on an ornate chair is a dwarf who bids you enter. As you do so, the oak door swings shut behind you. "Adventurers, you have done well to get this far," says the dwarf in a deep voice. "However, as you both know, there can only be one winner in the Trial of Champions. As Trial Master, it is my duty to Baron Circumvit, to let only the most able continue. Therefore, I must devise a test of wits and strength to eliminate one of you. Please do not attempt to dispose of me. It will be utterly pointless, for, as you can see, there is no obvious way out of this chamber, and only I know where the hidden exit lies. Now, if you would care to decide between you who will go first, I shall make the necessary preparations." You look at Throm, suddenly angry that your effective partnership might come to an end. He leans over and whispers in your ear that you should try to kill the dwarf and worry about the exit later. You tell Throm that there is no point in killing the dwarf, as you will never find your way out of the chamber alone. You argue that an opportunity of tricking the dwarf might arise later, once you have found the exit from the chamber. So you intend to go through with the dwarf's test. You tell the dwarf that you are ready, and he beckons you to follow him, telling Throm to wait for his return. A secret door opens in the chamber wall, and you follow the dwarf into a small circular room. He closes the door behind you and hands you 2 bone dice, telling you to throw them onto the floor. You roll a 6 and a 2, a total of 8. The dwarf asks you to roll them again, but this time you must predict whether the total will be the same, less, or more than the 8. The dwarf looks at the dice.
"Not very good at playing the odds, are you?"
He sneers.
"I regret you must suffer a penalty before you can continue."
From out of his pocket, he produces 2 pills. One is stamped with the letter S, and the other stamped with the letter L. He asks you to choose one and swallow it. The pill makes you feel dull and lethargic, reducing your skill by 2 points. The dwarf tells you that you can now progress to the second stage of the test. He reaches for a wicker basket and tells you that there is a snake inside it. He tips the basket over, and the snake drops onto the floor. It is a cobra, and it rears up into the air, ready to strike. The dwarf says he wants to test your reactions. You must grasp the cobra bare-handed below its head, avoiding its deadly fangs. You crouch down on the floor, tensing yourself for the moment at which to seize it. This will be a tough test of your now depleted skill. With lightning speed, you thrust your hand out and grip the cobra just below its open mouth. You lift it up, and with your arm outstretched, you dangle it in front of the dwarf. He doesn't flinch, but says in his calm, expressionless way,
"Please put the cobra back in the basket and prepare for the final part of the test. Follow me."
You do what he says and follow him back into the chamber, where Throm is pacing up and down, obviously ill at ease. You wave to him while the dwarf opens a second secret door and tells you to walk on through and wait for him. Again you comply, and you find yourself in another circular room, although this one resembles a small arena. The floor is covered with sand, and a small balcony runs around the arena wall. Opposite the secret entrance you came in through is an ominous-looking wooden door. Suddenly you hear a shout, and you look up to see the smiling dwarf standing on the balcony. He throws 2 pieces of paper down to you. On one of them, the words, "No crop is," are written. On the other, "Ruin moat." In his ever-calm voice, he says,
If you rearrange the letters of the words, you will find the names of 2 creatures. You may choose which one to fight in my arena of death.
Can you identify the creature by rearranging the letters? You call out to the dwarf that you are ready to fight the Minotaur. The wooden door rises slowly, and you see the fearsome beast, half man, half bull, step into the arena. Steam blows from its nostrils as it works itself up into a rage, ready to attack. Suddenly it rushes forward, swinging its double-headed axe. The Minotaur swings its huge axe above its head. You step aside as it smashes into the floor. You're able to land an attack from the side. You try to run around the Minotaur, but it grabs your arm, throwing you hard into the wall. Your speed is improving. You run directly at the Minotaur and slice at its leg as you run by. The Minotaur leans forward and takes a run at you. Speed is impressive, but you duck and roll aside, landing a heavy blow on its shin. The swinging double-headed axe is a formidable weapon, and you shriek as it sinks into your arm. You manage to get around the back of your enemy, but it quickly kicks backward, catching you agonizingly in the stomach. You try to run around the Minotaur, but it grabs your arm, throwing you hard into the wall. You quickly eat some provisions, increasing your stamina by 4 points. The Minotaur swings its huge axe above its head. You step aside as it smashes into the floor. You're able to land an attack from the side. Your speed is improving. You run directly at the Minotaur and slice at its leg as you run by. The dwarf calls down from the balcony, congratulating you on your victory. He throws the sack down into the arena and tells you to relax and regain your strength for the final part of the test. Then he walks off, saying he will return in about 10 minutes. You open the sack and find a jug of wine and a cooked chicken. The food and drink are excellent, and you feel much better, gaining 2 more stamina points. Fully satisfied, you sit down and await the dwarf's return. After about 20 minutes, the dwarf reappears on the balcony. He calls down to you, saying,
Well, I do have an interesting problem on my hands. Prepare to fight your next opponent.
The wooden door rises once again, and you are surprised to see a familiar face. It is Throm. He is cut and badly bruised and doesn't seem to recognize you. He is clearly delirious as he staggers forward with his axe raised to attack you. The dwarf laughs and says,
The cobra bit him, but he has the strength of an ox and managed to carry on, even though most men would have died. Now you must fight him to decide finally which of you will continue the trial of champions.
You shout abuse at the dwarf, protesting the cruelty of such a contest. He merely laughs, and you have no option but to defend yourself against poor Throm. Despite his wounds, he is immensely strong. Throm is tall, and you duck, grab him, and ram his head hard into the wall. You hurl yourself at Throm, fists flailing, and land a stunning blow on his chin. Throm swings at your head. Thankfully, you duck just in time. You drop to the ground, sweeping away Throm's legs. You hate it as he howls as his head hits the hard ground. Throm swings low, crashing into your ankles and knocking you off balance. Throm is tall, and you duck, grab him, and ram his head hard into the wall. You hurl yourself at Throm, fists flailing, and land a stunning blow on his chin. You grab Throm around the neck, but he is strong and pushes you off. Neither of you are harmed. You drop to the ground, sweeping away Throm's legs. You hate it as he howls as his head hits the hard ground. Exhausted by your long duel, you fall to your knees as you stare at Throm's still body. A bitter loathing for the dwarf fills your heart. Somehow, you will avenge Throm. Engulfed in your hatred, you do not notice the dwarf enter the arena until he is standing right in front of you, a loaded crossbow aimed at your chest.
I know what you are thinking,
he says calmly.
But remember that only I know the way out of here. Get up. It's time for you to leave.
Once on your feet, the dwarf indicates that you should walk ahead of him. Back in the chamber, he crosses over to the northern wall and pushes against one of its stones. A door-like section of the wall swings out, opening into another crystal-lit tunnel. With his crossbow still aimed at your chest, the dwarf smiles, saying,
Good luck.
The tunnel soon divides into two. You hear a buzzing sound coming from the western branch. There is a large panel of glass in the left-hand wall of the tunnel. Through it, you can see a bright, torch-lit room teeming with giant insects of every possible description. Bees, wasps, beetles, ticks. Even the mites are over 6 centimeters long. The noise is threatening. In the middle of the room, A jeweled crown lies on top of a old table. What looks like a large diamond is set in the middle of the crown. Ahead, in the far distance, you hear the sound of slow footsteps coming towards you. Unsure of who or what might be approaching, you look around for a place to hide. You see a large crack in the tunnel wall which lies in shadow. A crippled man with shackled feet shuffles into sight, carrying a wooden tray laden with bread and water. He looks tired and miserable, and quite unmoved by the sight of you, and tries to walk past. He looks at you warily when you tell him you are a contestant in the trial of champions. You ask him what he is doing in the tunnels, and he replies, rather reluctantly, that he is a servant of one of the trial masters, Baron Circumvit's appointed controllers of the sections of his dungeon. After chatting for a while, he admits that he would like to escape, but no one is allowed to leave the dungeon in case they reveal the secrets of its construction. He tells you that he hopes one day to bribe his way out, and that for 1 gold piece, he will tell you where some treasure is hidden. He takes your gold piece and tells you that in a northern tunnel, there is a wooden chair carved in the shape of a demon bird. In the arm of the chair is a secret panel which contains a potion in a glass vial. It's a doppelganger potion, if I remember right. Good luck. I hope we meet again outside these infernal tunnels. The man shuffles off, and you continue your journey. After a short while, you arrive at another junction in the tunnel, with a choice of 2 directions. Set back in the arched alcove in the tunnel wall, you see an ornate wooden chair carved in the shape of a demon-like bird of prey. Remembering the old man's advice, you search the arm of the chair for a secret panel. You find an almost invisible crack in the arm, which you start to press and squeeze. Suddenly a tiny panel springs out of the arm, and you see a glass vial lying in a cavity. You pick it out and read the label. Doppelganger potion, 1 dose only. This liquid will make you assume the shape of any nearby living being. You place the strange potion in your backpack and continue north, where the tunnel starts to slope downwards and finally comes to an end at a deep pool enclosed by the tunnel wall. The words of the spirit girl's poem flash through your mind. When corridor doth water meet, do not make a quick retreat. Of course, it is here that she wants you to dive into the water. Now, you must decide what to do. Somewhat nervously, you take a deep breath and dive into the dark pool. The northern wall does not project very far beneath the surface of the water, and you decide to take the risk to swim under it. Soon, you start gasping for air and are forced to swim upwards. Trying not to think that you could be trapped in an old submerged tunnel, you are relieved when you surface into cool air. You are on the other side of the wall and can see the tunnel rising out of the water and continuing north into the distance. You wade out of the water and check if you've been lucky with the contents of your wet backpack. Two portions of your provisions are saturated and are now inedible. Other than that, all your other possessions remain intact. You repack them carefully inside your backpack and set off north again. A little way along on the left of the tunnel wall, you reach the entrance of a large cavern from which you hear a girl's voice crying for help. You can just make out the shape of a human figure rolling about on the floor at the back of the cavern. As you approach the prostrate figure, you see she is an elf, one of your rivals in the Trial of Champions, and she is fighting for her life in the bone-crushing grip of an enormous boa constrictor. With one swipe of your trusty blade, you behead the boa constrictor. You uncoil its massive body from around the elf and try to resuscitate her. Her eyes open a little, but you can see that there is no hope. She looks at you and smiles, and then says in a whisper, "Thank you. I know it's too late for me, but I will tell you what I've learned. Your way out lies ahead, but you need gems to unlock the final door. One of them is a diamond, but I do not know what the others are. Alas, I have not found a diamond, but would urge you to look for one. Good luck." Her eyes close, and she slumps down onto the cold floor. You watch sadly as she breathes her last, knowing she would not mind you take 2 of her daggers and search her leather backpack. Inside, you find some unleavened bread, a mirror, and a bone charm in the shape of a monkey. The bread contains secret elven healing herbs, which increase your stamina by 3 points. Feeling sad, yet strong, you pack away the mirror and the charm and leave the cavern to head north. Walking along the tunnel, you notice an iron grille in the floor. Lying in a hole about a meter deep, you see a grappling iron and a leather pouch. You reach down into the hole and suddenly your blood runs cold as you feel something warm and sticky wrapping itself around your arm. You manage to pull your arm out of the hole, but a hideous tentacled limb with unbelievably strong suckers is clinging to you. By the time you manage to cut yourself free, your arm is trembling with pain, and you wonder whether luck is on your side. Having had the sense not to put your sword arm into the hole, the effects of the tentacled arm are not too serious, meaning you only lose 1 skill point. You reach back into the hole and pull out the grappling iron and the leather pouch. Inside the pouch, you find a tiny brass bell. You pack away your new possessions and continue north. A door comes into view in the left-hand wall of the tunnel. You listen carefully at it and hear nothing. The door is not locked, and the handle turns easily. The tunnel starts to widen, and ahead you see it's opened into a huge cavern from where you can hear the sound of many high-pitched voices. You creep up to the entrance and take a look inside. There are about 20 tiny people with long noses and ears running in a circle around a large golden effigy. You pour the contents of the glass vial into your mouth and swallow the clear liquid. Although you do not feel any immediate change, you hope that the potion will create the illusion that you are a troglodyte, just like the ones in front of you. Taking a deep breath, you step boldly into the cavern. The troglodytes continue their tribal dance, believing you to be one of them. You walk past them casually and head north. Unfortunately, the effects of the potion are short-lived, Suddenly you hear a shriek behind you as one of the troglodytes spots you, and you are forced to run across the cavern floor. Ahead you see an underground river running east to west through the cavern, and a wooden bridge crossing over it. After crossing the bridge, you run across the cavern floor. At last you see a tunnel in the far wall, which you race down until you reach its end at a heavy wooden door. The door is locked. The key turns in the lock, and the door opens into a four-way intersection of the tunnel. There is nothing to be seen, either to the east or to the west, apart from the now familiar ceiling crystals giving off their dim light. And suddenly you hear a voice calling you. This way, this way. You are on the right track. It seems to be coming from somewhere directly ahead of you. Your curiosity gets the better of you, and you decide to walk towards the beckoning voice. The tunnel bends sharply to the right, and around the corner you see a little old man with a long beard, cowering behind a large wicker basket. The basket is tied to a rope, the other end of which disappears into the ceiling. The old man sounds very worried as he says, "Do not attack me, stranger. I pose no threat to you. I am simply here to help you. If you will be so kind as to offer me some sort of remuneration, I will gladly haul you up in the basket to the upper level. And believe me, that is where you ought to be." After paying off the old man, you climb into the wicker basket and watch as he tilts his head back and shouts, "Pull it up, Ivy!" The rope goes taut, and the basket rises jerkily off the ground. As you are hauled higher and higher, the old man calls out to you, saying, "You'll like Ivy. She's a nice girl. We call her Poison Ivy." He starts to laugh uncontrollably, and you wonder, somewhat apprehensively, just who is hauling you up. The basket goes through the ceiling, and you find yourself in a small chamber, face to face with an ugly old female troll. Her face is hairy and covered with warts. With a huge hand, she reaches forward and hauls you out of the basket, which she lets fall to the floor below. She grabs you round her throat and says in a husky voice, "I want paying, too." You gaze around Ivy's room, seeing a painting of another troll hanging on the wall. You ask her if he is any relation. Suddenly her mood and expression change. She loosens her grip on you and smiles, saying, "Oh yes, that is my dear beloved brother Sourbelly. He has done very well for himself down south in Port Blacksand. He is now an Imperial Guard in Lord Azor's elite troop. I'm very proud of him." Ivy stares at the painting and continues to praise her brother. Smiling, you tell Ivy that you think she and Sourbelly look very alike. And then, while she stares admiringly at the painting, you pick up a broken stool, creep up behind her, and smash her over the back of the head with it as hard as you can. To your immense relief, she slumps, unconscious, to the floor. You search through the cupboards and boxes in Ivy's room, but you find nothing except an old bone, which you take with you. You leave the chamber by the east door. You find yourself standing at the end of a tunnel with a flight of stone steps leading downwards. From the floor below, you can hear the sound of barking dogs. You take the bone out of your backpack and throw it down the stairs. The barking grows louder, changing to snarls and growls when the bone lands on the floor. You walk slowly down the steps with your sword drawn and see two huge black guard dogs fighting over the bone. You run quickly past them and on down the tunnel. The tunnel veers sharply to the left and comes to an end at a high wall in which there is a door. You hear a ferocious roar from the other side of the wall, and you wonder what gargantuan beast could make such a noise. You tie the rope to the grappling iron and hurl it over the top of the wall. Its hooks dig into the stone, and you begin to haul yourself up. Peering over the top of the wall, you see an enormous dinosaur-like monster thrashing about in a sand-covered pit. Its tough hide is a mottled green color, and it stands some 10 meters tall on its muscular hind legs. Rows of razor-sharp teeth line its gigantic jaws, which open and close with bone-snapping power. There is a large double door in the wall on the far side of the pit, which appears to be the only way out of this section of the dungeon. The Pit Fiend's jaws snap at the monkey charm and pluck it out of the air. Suddenly its jaws spring open again, forced apart by the charm, which has expanded to fill its mouth. While the Pit Fiend thrashes around in the pit, trying to get rid of the charm, you lower yourself down into the pit to reach the double doors. In its mad rage, the Pit Fiend tries to crush you against the side of the wall with its massive body. Let's see if luck is on your side here. As the Pit Fiend slams its body against the wall, you let go of the rope and drop safely to the floor. You run towards the double doors and are relieved to feel them swing open as you push on them. You let them swing shut behind you and head north along the tunnel. Walking along, you see a red line painted across the tunnel floor and notice a sign on the wall which reads, "No weapons beyond this point." The tunnel leads into a marble-floored hall with pillars rising right up to the ceiling. As you cross the floor, your footsteps echo through the hall. The hairs on the back of your neck start to prickle, and you soon sense unseen eyes watching you. Unknown to you, one of your rivals is hiding behind a pillar. It is the ninja, a deadly assassin dressed in black robes. Without a sound, he steps out from behind the pillar and throws a star-edged disc at your back. Instinctively, an inner voice tells you to duck. But how's your luck? The razor-sharp disc whistles past your head and bites deep into one of the pillars. Turning to face your would-be assassin, you prepare yourself as he advances, his long sword drawn. The ninja leaps at you, his sword screeching toward your head, but you parry and are able to kick the fighter directly in the stomach. The ninja leaps at you, his sword screeching toward your head. You parry, but his sword bites deep into your arm. You find a used throwing disc and hurl it as the ninja unleashes another. He cackles with laughter as his thuds into your leg. You find a rock lying in the corner and throw it hard toward a pillar where the ninja is hiding. As he looks around it, the rock hits him agonizingly in the face. You find a used throwing disc and hurl it as the ninja unleashes another. You both miss. You find a used throwing disc and hurl it as he unleashes another. The ninja howls in pain as yours lands home. The ninja is fast, whipping past you and landing a powerful blow in your back. The ninja leaps at you, his sword screeching toward your head, but you parry and are able to kick the fighter directly in the stomach. You find a rock lying in the corner and throw it hard toward a pillar where the ninja is hiding. As he looks around it, the rock hits him agonizingly in the face. You decide to search the ninja and find a cloth bag in the folds of his robes. Inside it is a flask of water, some rice wrapped in a palm leaf, a jar of ointment, and a beautiful diamond. The ninja's rations are basic but welcome, increasing your stamina by 1 point. You empty the contents of the jar into your hand and apply them to your wounds. Their healing powers take immediate effect, and you feel yourself growing stronger, increasing your stamina by 3 points. You leave the hall, taking just the diamond with you. The only possible way out of the hall, as far as you can see, is by using the chute in the northern wall. You decide to give it a go and climb into the chute. You slide down gently, landing on your back in another room. As soon as you stand up, you are confronted by the most repulsive sight you have ever laid eyes on. There in front of you, wallowing in a circular pool of fetid slime, is a bulbous creature too horrible to be believed. Its body is green and covered all over with fearsome-looking spikes. Its face is a mass of crimson blisters, one of which suddenly bursts to reveal yet another of its many sinister, all-seeing eyes. A narrow path runs around the edge of the pool and leads into another tunnel in the far wall. Remembering the description of the vile blood beast and the warning about the toxic gas rising from its pool, you cover your mouth with your sleeve and step forward with your sword drawn, wary of the blood beast's tongue. As you step around the side of the pool, it rolls forward and flicks out its tongue. But you are ready for it and cleave it with one swipe of your sword. The beast howls in pain and stretches forward frantically, trying to clasp you between its blood-filled jaws. You start hacking at its hideous face in an attempt to pierce its real eyes. The creature reaches for you with its mouth in the pool
You step back to avoid it, but slip on its fetid slime. It sinks its teeth into your ankle, costing you precious stamina. Again, the bulbous creature strikes for you with its hideous fangs. You jump clear of them, striking out and smashing one clean out of its hideous mouth. The blood beast's tail whips around you. You duck, but not quickly enough, and it punctures your arm deeply. The creature launches its head out of the pool in front of you and reaches for you with its mouth. You plunge your sword into one of its many eyes. It shrieks and backs away.
Your blade strikes one of the blood beast's real eyes with devastating effect. It slumps back into its pool, thrashing about in a frenzy. You seize the opportunity and run around the side of the pool to the tunnel exit. The tunnel leads into a large room, its ceiling supported by several marble pillars. As you enter the room, you see a strange beast to your right. It has the body of a lion with dragon-like wings attached to it, but its head is like that of an old bearded man. You recognize the beast. It is a manticore. Taking heed of the warning poem you took from the skeleton warrior, you watch out for its tail, which sprouts a profusion of sharp spikes at its tip, thick and hard as iron bolts. You raise your shield in front of you just in time to protect yourself from a volley of spikes released from the manticore's tail and aim straight at your heart. They sink into your shield and you remain unharmed. Swiftly, you draw your sword and advance on the manticore. You quickly eat some provisions, increasing your stamina by 4 points. You quickly eat some provisions, increasing your stamina by 4 points. You quickly eat some provisions, increasing your stamina by 4 points. The giant creature whips its spiked tail at you, firing more spikes. You duck and roll, quickly slicing a chunk from its tail, passing close to you. You seize an opportunity to attack the creature's back leg and manage to bury your sword deep into its thigh. You try your luck, and your luck is in. The creature runs directly at you. You move too late, and the creature smashes you onto a wall, costing you valuable stamina. You lunge at the creature's stomach with your sword drawn, but just as you thought you'd land a crushing blow, the creature whips around, parrying your effort. Neither of you are harmed. You lunge at the creature's stomach with your sword drawn. It tries to move, but you land a powerful blow. The giant creature whips its spiked tail at you, firing more spikes. You duck and roll, quickly slicing a chunk from its tail, passing close to you. You seize an opportunity to attack the creature's leg, but it's ready for you. And before you can strike, it rips your leg with its razor-sharp claws.
You run to avoid the whipping tail, but stumble. And with a speed you could never have imagined, it tries to sink its teeth into your leg, but you move just in time. Neither of you are harmed. You run to avoid the whipping tail, but stumble, and a spike from it thuds agonizingly into your shoulder. You seize an opportunity to attack the creature's back leg and manage to bury your sword deep into its thigh.
As you are wiping the manticore's blood from your sword, you are surprised to see a small man jump out from behind one of the marble pillars. He is dressed in a tight-fitting green tunic and looks quite harmless, although you are wary of the way he is holding an opaque glass ball with a shimmering green light. "Greetings," he says cheerfully. "My name is Igbot, the gnome, and I am the trial master for your final test. Needless to say, my magical powers are great, so you should not try to attack me. You may have learnt during your quest that gems play an essential part in the trial of champions. The iron door in front of you is the victory exit, but there is only one way of opening it. 3 gems have to be put into the lock mechanism in the correct order. Each gem radiates a unique energy, which will trigger the mechanism. If you do it correctly, that is. But first, we need the correct gems. First, you will need an emerald." The gnome smiles and says, "You truly are a great adventurer. Now, you will also need a sapphire." The gnome, still smiling, says excitedly, "Excellent. Just one to go. Lastly, you'll need a diamond." The gnome jumps in the air, yelling, "Well done! Nobody has ever managed to find all 3 gems before. Now get ready for the final test, which I will explain once and once only. As you can see, the lock on this door has 3 slots labeled A, B, and C, each of which is built to accept a specific gem. You have to put one of the 3 gems in each of the slots in the correct order. If you manage this at the first attempt, fine. However, if you put the gems in the wrong slots, you will be blasted by a bolt of energy from the lock, causing you injury. So choose carefully. I'm allowed to help you a little. If you place 1 gem in its correct slot but get the other 2 wrong, I shall shout 1 crown and 2 skulls. If you place all 3 gems incorrectly, I shall shout 3 skulls. You will be allowed to try again and again until you either succeed or die. Are you ready? You signal your readiness with a nod of the head and walk forward to place the 3 gems in the slots. For your first try, decide now which gems you will place in the labeled slots. You just have time to hear the gnome say, 1 crown and 2 skulls, before a white bolt of energy shoots out from the lock into your chest, knocking you unconscious. It's 1 dice plus 1 for the damage. You come to, and you are told by the gnome to try again. You know you placed 1 gem in the correct slot, but which one? You just have time to hear the gnome yell, 3 crowns, before the lock clicks open. As the heavy door swings slowly outwards, the gnome rushes towards it, hurling the glass ball at your feet. Green gas escapes from the broken glass. I'm afraid we'll need to test your luck to see if you avoid inhaling it. Covering your nose and mouth with your hand to avoid breathing in the gas, you follow the gnome through the open door. You enter another tunnel, at the end of which is the welcome sight of daylight. Much to your surprise, you see the gnome lying dead halfway down the tunnel. A crossbow bolt protrudes from the side of his head. The gnome, in his own bid for freedom, has fallen foul of Baron Succumvit's final trap. You walk past him and out into the brilliant sunshine. As soon as you appear at the tunnel exit, a large crowd begins to cheer and shout. You walk down a path lined with jubilant people towards a small rostrum, and there, sitting under a colourful bamboo umbrella, is Baron Succumvit. He looks astonished, as if he never expected anybody to come through his Deathtrap dungeon alive. Now the secret of Fang is known. As the Baron rises from his chair, you climb the steps to the rostrum, bow down before him, and watch as his cold eyes stare at you in utter disbelief. You smile grimly as he offers you his outstretched hand. To the deafening noise of the cheering people of Fang, Baron Succumvit opens the chest containing your prize of 10,000 gold pieces. Then he places a laurel crown on your head and proclaims you the champion of Deathtrap Dungeon.